Leisure Festival Preview, sponsored by LADBROKES.
A warm welcome back. Thank you for logging on to attheraces.com. You're very welcome along as we preview this great week of racing at Doncaster. It's St Leger week. But Matt Chapman, who joins me, Matt, it's a notable meeting for the fact that the Leger aside, there are 7 other group races on the entire week.
And it's a week where you often find a really decent 2-year-old. Sometimes, perhaps more often, a really decent colt in the Champagne. But the Mayhill has thrown up in its time a couple of really decent performers.
Thursday's Mayhill Stakes, a Group 2 race for the youngsters. And if John Gosden decides to run Rainbow View here, I'd have thought he'd take a hell of a lot of beating, or she would, Matt. She's unbeaten in 2 starts. She looks a great prospect.
She certainly does, and in the Sweet Solera, winning by 6 lengths for Johnny G. Jimmy Fortune on board, the ground good to soft, so if it comes up a little bit easy at Doncaster's got every chance. And yes, looks a very, very exciting horse for George Strawbridge, who of course only keeps good horses in training in England. First run in 1976, this race has produced 2 classic winners. You will remember Midway Lady in 1985, and of course the mighty Reams of Verse in 1996. But other than those 2, John, not a great guide for subsequent Group 1 winners. So, if you are going to go on the classic sort of trail after this race, Midway Lady 85, Reams of Verse 96, it's about time we had another good one, and Rainbow View could be it. But, you know, it's not going to be a one-horse race.
No, Jim Bolger's got Aaron S there, who was 4th in the Moy-Glare. I don't know, this would probably go down as a drop in class for her.
Well, it is a drop in class because, of course, the Moy-Glare is a Group 1 race. This isn't. However, although Aaron S brings the Group 1 form into this race, I'm not sure about the Moy-Glare Stud Stakes. Again, it was a toughish win for, again, beating Shima. Beyond Our Reach in 3rd. Well, Beyond Our Reach didn't come into the race with the greatest backup form of all time. I'm not so sure the Moy-Glare will turn out the great race that some people think this time around.
And of the other ones we just highlighted, not all the entries by any means. David Ellsworth runs Snoqualmie Girl. Now, I was at Salisbury, where she won, virtually making her own running on the far rail. Everything else, Matt, came standside that day, and I thought it was a really brave performance to win the Stonehenge Stakes. Clearly, this is a big step up in class for her.
It certainly is, and a terrific call that day. I remember it was an exciting finish, wasn't it, on Our Way and Dare Bus, and you got the first 3 exactly in the right order, I think, half a length and the same, the winning distances. The problem with Snoqualmie Girl, of course, is that the horse has already been beaten by Rainbow View, wasn't it? 3rd, I think, at Newmarket. So, you know, I can't see why, for all that Snoqualmie Girl is obviously improving, it's got to improve, John, out of all recognition, to beat Rainbow View. The one thing about that is, I think, does Rainbow View carry a penalty, I think, for this race? So that is just the one thing that brings her slightly closer. If she won with the penalty, oh my God, I think we could be looking at another Midway Lady Reams of Verse.
That's Thursday afternoon then, the Mayhill Stakes. The day after, Friday, the Doncaster Cup, one of the highlights. Now, I don't want to be too rude about the others, but assuming Yates doesn't run, Matt, which looks likely, I think this is really up for grabs. I think the others are much of a muchness in terms of top-class staying form.
John, they often say great minds agree, and you'll be delighted to know that I'm absolutely with you on this one. And to be honest with you, no offence to the National Express-sponsored Doncaster Cup. Traditionally a great race, and of course Septimus was awesome 12 months ago in this contest. But you take Yates out, and it'll be like almost handicap betting for me. You could choose whatever you like. Sagara would probably just about be the form horse, but I think Sagara's a very iffy horse. One or two people may even describe it from the punting point of view as a horrible horse, Sagara. Sai Bin Sarur trains, and I thought there was only one improver in this race, and that was Sambuk for Luca Kamani. Now, at Goodwood last time, when beaten by Tungsten Strike, Sambuk looked a little bit iffy from the fact that it was on and off the bridle. Maybe it just didn't take to Goodwood. Prior to that, had looked to be an improving horse. There is no other improver in this race. And if Luca lets Sambuk take its chance, stepped up in trip, I think it was 1 mile and 6 in the March Stakes, now up to the 2 mile trip at Doncaster. Sambuk, for me, is the only horse who's an improver. Basically, the other horses, Finalmente could easily win on the Henry II form, but was a shocking run in France last time. You know, Royal and Regal, decent stare early in the season, but again, disappointing in France recently. They're all horses that can win at their very best. But if you want a one horse who could be improving if it runs, Sambuk for me.
OK, well, it'd be Honolulu for me. I was very impressed with him at Royal Ascot, I must say.
But you weren't very impressed with him last time behind Yates, were you?
No, that's very
Awful
true.
run.
But I just feel if they really take the bull by the horns and make this a genuine stamina test over 2.25 miles.
You've got 12 lengths to make up on Sagara.
Yeah, I think he can do it. I think he can do it.
Just the look in your face now is thinking, oh, God, has he? 12 lengths to make up on Sagara. That, of course, was the race where Yates beat Tungsten Strike by 7 lengths. There were distances back. Regal Flush has advertised the form with an easy win in a conditions race, where, of course, Balkan Knight, who runs possibly in this race, was well beaten off. But Honolulu, I mean, you know, it won the old sort of hurdlers race at Royal Ascot, the Queen Alexandra.
Very impressive.
Well, it was very impressive. It was also over nearly 3 miles against a bunch of hurdlers. You know, quirky in the mind, and not good enough, Honolulu. I think you've backed a loser there, John.
OK, Matt, we shall see. The weekend promises so much. Saturday's a great day. Champagne Stakes, and it promises to be one of the best 2-year-old races of the entire year. Just to pick out one or two of the main contenders, towards the bottom there, Rip Van Winkle. It will be wonderful to see him run again at Doncaster. Who's going to take him on? Well, if Sir Michael Stout decides to run Zakinto right down there at the bottom, and the two of them go head-to-head, Matt, I think we've got the prospect of one of the great 2-year-old races of the season.
I think you're absolutely spot on, John. And the other thing is, the Champagne does need to get another good winner. In the past, the Champagne Stakes was a terrific guide to great horses. Just run through a few of them. Don't Forget Me, 1986, of course, went on to win the 2,000 guineas. Warning, the great miler in 87. Rodrigo de Triano won in 1991, not under Lester Piggott, ridden by Willie Carson that day. Al Hareth and Bahari for Hamdan Al Maktoum were the winner. Distant Music, of course, who was a really good 2-year-old, didn't quite go on. And in 2003, Lucky Story won. And, of course, Lucky Story went on to chase home Racti the next season in the QE2 at Ascot. So there have been some great horses. However, recently, pretty poor. McCartney. Where did McCartney go? Vital Equine. Silent Times, of course, Dead Heated with Close to You at Lala. Very disappointing, the recent Champagne Stakes winners. Now, Rip Van Winkle looked very good in the Taros Stakes. But I put this to you, Mr. John Hunt, in the dock. Has Kushgera advertised the form of the Taros?
Well, clearly not, but on the day, Rip Van Winkle was seriously impressive.
Well, was it?
Yeah,
brushed
Kushgera aside.
And who couldn't? Any horse can beat Kushgera in Ireland. Villasol was third. That's been disappointing. I tell you what, Rip Van Winkle, for me, has a point to prove. He may well prove it this week.
So if you were Sir Michael Stout, you'd have no qualms about taking him on with Zakinto?
I think Zakinto could be awesome, as the Yanks would say. Who knows how good... You know, 6-length winner at Sandown, I think, roughly first time out.
I think it was 7, but we're not...
6 or 7. Look brilliant. Yeah. And, you know, could be anything. I'm just... Look, Rip Van Winkle could be special, but I'm just putting up to the point. If you're going to take a short price and you actually look at the form of that Tara Stakes now, on the day it looked fantastic after Kushgera had run at Royal Ascot. Now, in the bin.
Good job. That's a cheap pen, Matt, anyway. But... If
Well,
they run against each other,
that
is a race to savour the Champagne Stakes. Now, of course, Haydock's demise at the weekend is very much to Doncaster's benefit on Saturday with the rearrange sprint race, Group 1 for the Ladbrokes Sprint on Saturday. So many of them stand their ground, of the original runners, of course. And I don't know, much, I suppose, will be dependent on the weather. US Ranger there, Fraden O'Brien. Is he ever going to land a big one? There was a lovely piece with Corriba's trainer Henry Candy not too long ago, and Barry Hills with Equiano, Royal Ascot hero. It would be great if Barry could strike again there with Equiano, who ran slightly for me disappointingly at Newmarket. What are your thoughts on the big sprint of the weekend, Matt?
Well, I'm going to rule out a couple first of all. I'm going to be controversial to start with, John. Corriborough. I just do not get why everyone thinks Corriborough is going to be a great sprinter. I just don't understand it. It's got a high rating, 110 for a 3-year-old, but where's the form in the book saying Corriborough is the next great sprinter? You know, I thought it was really disappointing when beaten at Newbury. It's been beaten in France. It's not run at Group 1 level. I just can't see why Corriborough is suddenly, you know, the next great sprinting sensation. I think it's slightly to do because everyone loves Henry Candy and he's affable and he's charming and he's good to speak to. But I'm going to rule out Corrie, but I just can't have that horse on my mind. Will be one of the favourites here. US Ranger. Jamie Spencer was booked for it at Haydock. Of course, now with the different timing, I'm not sure whether Jamie will get the ride or not. Would be a Spencer type of ride, because like you, John, US Ranger is quirky personified. Would be very interesting. Utmost respect, of course, we'll love the ground. I think we've got to accept it's going to be soft ground. It may not be heavy like it was at Haydock, but it's going to be soft-ish ground. Ben Bourne, well, he's got one of the highest ratings in the race. I'm going to stick with US Ranger. I think soft ground at Doncaster, off a strong pace, which I expect there to be. I'm going to give him another chance. I've said that for about the last 15 races he's had. So, you know, there are cliff horses, aren't there, John? We've all got them. US Ranger is my cliff horse, and I'm getting closer and closer to the cliff. And let's face it, if he does go down again, a lot of people will be delighted if I finally jump off.
So that's the Ladbrokes Sprint Saturday afternoon. Sprint fans are really spoilt on Saturday because we've got the Portland Handicap as well, over 5.5 furlongs. I've got the winner of this race for you, Matt, and I'm delighted to report it's not on that caption, but Cheverton is. He's been a much improved sprinter through this year. 8-1 on the price guide, likely favourite. Very hard horse to knock, isn't he?
And the Price Stable are in good form. They've been battling in the winners left, right and centre. Interesting selection, thoroughly exposed, of course, now, Cheverton, but seemingly still on the improve. Amazing that it could win another one. You know, obviously, we're doing this in advance. The draw, absolutely crucial for this race. So the one thing punters have got to do is try and think about the draw, get the pace. We saw at Royal Ascot. I know it's a bit Anarakish and, you know, maybe it upsets people, but you've got to look for where the pace is in the race. I think you're going to want a closer because I think the conditions are going to be testing. There'll be some hooligans who go off fast up front, and therefore you want a horse to come from off the pace, fly through late. I'm going to give a horse who's been knocking at the door in these types of races for so long. May have to carry top weight, depending if 1 or 2 run. Hogmanay, a horse who deserves to win this type of race. Needs luck in running. You know you're going to have to get the brakes at the right time, but will go in the ground and is a suitable contender for this type of race. But the draw, John, will be absolutely crucial. I'm amazed you're saying Cheverton before you know the draw. That is a very brave shout. Very brave.
No, I said mine wasn't on the caption. I don't fancy Cheverton to win this. On the draw, Fulhamby won it from stall 21.
Are you
last
absolutely
year.
sure you didn't say you fancied Cheverton?
You log on, Matt, and listen back.
Okay.
I didn't say
All the
Cheverton.
W's at theraces.com.
Yeah.
Ladbrokes preview.
I like Lipoco. Now, it goes against you because this is a horse who goes off from the front.
Make a stand, Peter Deal, isn't that?
But I just feel 5.5 furlongs. Perfect trip for this horse. Doesn't quite get home over 6. The Portland's made for Lipoco. Again, he'll be one of the top weights if he turns up. He's an entry in the Group 1 sprint as well.
Can't win.
I just think if he goes the Portland route, Lipoco...
Can't win. Do you want to know why?
I'm giving you this months in advance. Lipoco wins the Portland.
Yeah, and hopefully, therefore, it won't be declared on the day and you can get out of trouble, get your money back. Lipoco, look, ran in Ireland last time. I was watching that night. I had spoke to Rafe Beckett before the race. It was a gilt-edged opportunity to win, going round the bend, got the uncontested lead, ran a shocker.
The trip was what there, Matt?
I think it was 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not 5.5.
No, it was beaten well before 5.5, trust me. It ran a shocker, and as I've said, front runners, John. You fancy a front runner to make all in the Portland?
Yeah, definitely. You just log on, Matt, and have a look at the Windsor run behind Balthazar's Gift, and at Ascot as well. Another tremendous effort there for Lipoco.
Well, you know,
and you'll
brilliant
change
behind
your
the
mind.
microphone.
It's all right.
Fantastic roving
You're
reporter.
more than welcome to change
on the
your
BBC,
mind if you want.
But tipster, oh my, Lipoco.
He is so right. It's going to be a great week at Doncaster. Thank you very much for logging on. Hope you're back plenty of winners.
Lipoco going further and further clear.
Ledger Festival Preview, sponsored by LADBROKES.